Movie Mark with the Mad Movie Mark movie review, counting down my top 10 least favorite movies of all time. We are finally made it to number one. This is my least favorite movie of all time. It is going to be 2007's Ghost Rider, starring Nicolas Cage. Thank you for anyone who has stuck through this or anyone who watched any of the other reviews. I appreciate it. If you like what I'm doing, if you want to subscribe, that would be great. And if you don't like what I'm doing, then just tell me where to stick it in the comments if you want. No problem. So number 10 was Across the Universe. Number 9 was Team America World Police. Number 8 was MASH. Number 7 was Golden Compass. Number 6 was Dreamcatcher. Number 5 was Beowulf. Number 4 was Dark Phoenix. Number 3, Lord of War. Number 2, Armageddon. And number 1, Ghost Rider. Now, before anyone says that I'm just bashing on Nicolas Cage here, I will go ahead and repeat what I said in my review of Lord of War, that I do love adaptation. It's probably in my top 25 or 30 movies of all time. I also really liked him in Kick-Ass, and I thought he was good in It Could Happen to You. So there are movies with Nicolas Cage that I enjoy. There was a period in my life where I felt that Nicolas Cage was the worst actor of all time. Part of me still feels that way. But being that I wanted to judge him fairly, I went and saw a lot of Nicolas Cage movies, almost probably his whole movieography, and it just goes to reason that I will like more of his movies than other actors, or I will dislike more of his movies than other actors. That's because I watched a lot of them, so I could give him a fair shake. I don't like just blindly saying I don't like someone without really giving their whole career a try. So I don't hate Nicolas Cage. I don't think he's the greatest actor in the world, but there are movies of his that I like. So this is 2007's Ghost Rider. It does not have a cameo from Stan Lee, even though it's a Marvel movie. That's because Stan Lee didn't have anything to do with the creation of Ghost Rider or really anything to do with Ghost Rider, even though it was part of Marvel. This is the worst Marvel movie I personally have ever seen. I have not seen Ghost Rider 2 because its reviews are a lot worse, and I just don't think I could sit through another Ghost Rider movie, at least not of this same caliber. And I've also not seen the Fantastic Four from 2015. I've heard that movie is probably worse than Ghost Rider, and oh man, they just can't make a good Fantastic Four movie. I don't understand it. I heard John Krasinski might be in the new one. It's a rumor, but does he really want to do that? I mean, it really is going to have to be a home run for him. Otherwise, it's just a really bad idea. And then I've never seen Howard the Duck, which is considered the worst Marvel movie of all time, I believe. So let's go ahead and hop on with the review. This stars Nicolas Cage as Johnny Blaze, Eva Mendes as Roxanne Simpson, Sam Elliott as the caretaker / Carter Slade. That is not a spoiler because you should just not watch this movie. And then Brett Cullen as Barton Blaze, Peter Fonda as Mephistopheles. Oh man, how did they get Peter Fonda to be in this movie? What did they have to promise him? What did they have to offer him to be in this movie? Because some people who watch movies like this is going to be maybe the only movies they see with Peter Fonda, and they're going to be like, what was the big deal about this guy? Oh man. And then Wes Bentley as Blackheart. And I think that what's even worse is that this movie, you could say this movie has an Oscar winner in it, and it's not Peter Fonda, it's Nicolas Cage. So there is really no fairness, no justice when it comes to the Oscars sometimes. Man. Okay, so this movie starts off by saying who Ghost Rider is and what Ghost Rider is. Now, I watched the movie maybe 3 or 4 days ago, so I'm trying to do this from memory. I never have read the Ghost Rider comics. I wasn't a huge comic book person. I read some X-Men comics, but I didn't really get into the whole comic thing. My friend wanted to see this movie when it came out because he was a big Ghost Rider fan, so that's why we went and saw it. And I think we both came out of it very disappointed because it's just bad. So the Ghost Rider, from what I can understand, is the devil offers someone who he deems fit the chance to trade their soul in for a favor later to be this ghost writer. The ghost writer is kind of the he evil minion of the devil. Obviously, he's like fiery. He's very flammable. He's fire everywhere. Whatever he decides to write is on fire. Carter Slade, who was the first Ghost Rider, ended up was on a horse because it was way back in the day. Nicolas Cage is the motorcycle. So we fast forward a long time ahead, and we see Johnny Blaze and his son, his dad, Barton Blaze. They are Evel Knievel like stunt riders. Specifically, what we are shown is that they ride through a loop together and then come out the other side, and it's a loop of fire. So at the same time, we also see that Johnny Blaze is dating a Roxanne Simpson. Now, we are told that they are both, I believe, in high school together, that they are both the same age, even though when Nicolas Cage and Roxanne Simpson are shown later, it is very clear that Nicolas Cage is quite a bit older than Roxanne Simpson. He's actually, in real life, they're 10 years apart. But man, Nicolas Cage looks way older than Eva Mendes does in this movie. This is what movies try to do, though, especially bad movies. They try to make us believe things that are not at all believable. So, just to recap, you have father-son doing stunt devil stuff. You have son dating daughter. So we learn in the movie that Roxanne Simpson is going to be moving, and she tells Johnny Blaze that she has to move, and her dad thinks that Johnny Blaze is kind of just a phase. So Johnny Blaze and her, they're sitting under the tree. Johnny Blaze kind of paces around under the thinking tree for a little bit, and then he's like, well, why don't we just get on our motorcycle and ride away? We don't need this town. We don't need my dad. My dad doesn't need me. Let's just ride away. And she thinks this is a great idea. She's actually seems very excited, like this is what she was hoping to hear. So he goes home, and his idea is that he's going to be leaving with her, but then he kind of finds a note in the trash can from his dad's doctor that says his dad's dying of cancer. So he is going on this trip to see his girlfriend, and he is met by Mephistopheles, who kind of says, you know, I'm looking for a new Ghost Rider. If you want to sell your soul, I will make sure your father doesn't die of cancer. So Johnny Blaze doesn't really believe this. Like, yeah, whatever. Sure, if you want to save my dad, let's do it. Goes home. His dad has been saved. He doesn't have cancer. All right. So the next day comes, and this is the day that Johnny Blaze is planning on leaving. He goes to watch his dad in one last Daredevil performance, and his dad ends up dying. And Johnny Blaze sees Mephistopheles a few minutes later, and he's like, hey, like, what gives? You said you were going to let my dad live. And Mephistopheles basically says, like, oh, whatever, make a deal with the devil unless you're a really good banjo player or fiddle player. If your fiddle's made of gold, you might be able to beat me, but otherwise, your dad didn't die of cancer. He died on a motorcycle accident, so I kept my end of the deal. Now, one day I will come and ask you to be Ghost Rider. So, Nicolas Cage goes to the meeting place when him and Roxanne are going to meet, but then he decides to keep riding because he's just too distraught. I'm assuming by his father's death, he doesn't want to leave the town. And that's the end of like the young young Johnny Blaze, young Roxanne Simpson. So then we fast forward, and Johnny Blaze is like the new like it guy. He's the new Evel Knievel, where he's jumping over football fields, helicopters. He's jumping over semi trucks, and right before he does this last death-defying thing where he jumps over helicopters, Roxanne Simpson just happens to be in the media. She comes to give him an interview, and you know, he does an interview. He's basically just asking her how she is during the interview and kind of looking like a goon. And after the interview, he's like, "Hey, you wanna get dinner sometime?" And she says, "Sure, let's get dinner sometime." So then, what do you think's gonna happen the night of the dinner? You just take a guess. If you've seen this movie, great. If you haven't seen this movie, you can just take a guess. What's gonna happen, right? He's not gonna make it, right? Right. So the night of the dinner, he is met by the devil, and the devil says, "Okay, I'm turning in your contract. You're going to be Ghost Rider from now on." And Nicolas Cage turns into like the big Ghost Rider guy, all flamed out, and misses his dinner with Roxanne Simpson. Turns out this guy named Wes Bentley, he is also dead. He is named Blackheart. He is the son of Mephistopheles, and he wants this contract of 1,000 souls that's out there um, that Carter Slade is in possession of. So but we don't know that yet. So he's out looking for this contract, and he thinks like maybe the Ghost Rider has it. So he turns his attention to the Ghost Rider, and he also has his like a group of henchmen. They're basically like the evil Captain Planet Planeteers, where one is Earth, like wind, water, heart, go planet type of thing. I think one is actually wind, one is water. I don't remember what the other one is. Honestly, they don't really matter. The rest of the movie is basically Nicolas Cage fighting these guys, and Nicolas Cage trying to mend his relationship with Roxanne. At the end of the movie, he very easily does away with all of these henchmen. You never really feel, at least I never really feel like Ghost Rider is in any type of trouble. Even Blackheart seems kind of comically ridiculous. Uh, at the end of the movie, it's pretty much setting you up for the end of the movie. He wants the 1,000 souls of the dead. He has no soul. When Ghost Rider stares into someone's eyes, he takes their soul. So obviously, Ghost Rider can't kill him unless Mephistopheles gets this contract. And then once he gets it, Ghost Rider kills him. Done and done. And at the end, Mephistopheles said, "Well, you've done what I've asked you to do. Now you can go back with Roxanne, have children, live your life. Everything's great." And Ghost Rider says, "No, I will not do it. This is my burden to bear." And basically, for a third time, tells Roxanne to go take a hike. That's the summary of this movie. This movie is very corny. When Nicolas Cage first becomes Ghost Rider, he's pigeonholed into saying like one-word phrases, like he'll say "no" or "guilty," "innocent," "look into my eyes." That's basically like all he does. He has like one word or one sentence phrase where he's just making commands, or I don't get it. Roxanne Simpson in this movie, she's like in love with him in the beginning, and then she never really like later on in life she's supposed to get married, but she doesn't. And then when she sees him again, she realizes she's in love again. And then at the end, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe the story of a girl who constantly gets like dumped or gets like shitted on by this guy, and then she's like still in love with him and still pursuing him. At one point, she even goes to his like apartment to apologize for treating him the way she's been treating him. It's like, you don't owe him any apology. He's treated you like crap. So a theme of movies that I don't like is the weak female character, female character who's written like she is, where she has no backbone. She coddles to the man. I don't know. It's just, I need a woman in a movie who has some sort of backbone, has some sort of strength, is able to say, "I don't need you. I can live on my own," type of thing. And this definitely isn't it. The dialogue is really cheesy. It's almost like, it almost reminds me of Mr. Freeze, like the comedy that Mr. Freeze does, Arnold Schwarzenegger does as Mr. Freeze. It's almost the same type of dialogue here. The end of the movie where Carter Slade, he just all of a sudden is the first Ghost Rider. I thought that was pretty well, you saw that coming, I felt like. And at the end, when he says he's riding with Nicolas Cage, he said, "Well, I was only allowed to turn into Ghost Rider one more time, and I was wait until now. It's, so there's a cap on how many times you can turn to Ghost Rider, especially since you didn't do what Mephistopheles wanted. Aren't you just in hiding now? When were these rules created where you only have one more time to be Ghost Rider? Was this just because the movie needed that? I don't know if we're ever told that this is actually a rule that's going to happen, that's in place. Uh, and like I said, the evil people in this movie, they're just no match for Ghost Rider. You never think that Ghost Rider is really in any troubled situation, and there's no like sense of urgency. There's no like any tense situations, and you can tell that this is really. I don't know if it's just really early Marvel movies, them trying to find their footing, or if it's just really bad directing, really bad writing. Um, but this movie is just bad. Nicolas Cage is okay in the beginning, but then when he becomes Ghost Rider, he's pretty much a terrible Ghost Rider. Um, his and then he has a friend also who tries to save him throughout the entire movie, and he also kind of falls flat. I feel like I don't think any of the acting in this movie is in that very good. And also Peter Fonda. Peter Fonda. If you didn't know who Peter Fonda was, and you watched this movie with your eyes closed, and you just heard him talk, you would ask yourself, why is Jack Nicholson in this movie? He sounds exactly like Jack Nicholson. I don't remember him sounding this way in other movies. Maybe he did. Maybe I'm just. It's been a long time since I've seen a Peter Fonda movie, but he sounds just like Jack Nicholson. It's crazy. There were times when he was walking, like when he was walking and talking, where I said, this is Jack Nicholson. But he doesn't have a large part in this movie. He did some other movies after this, so I'm really happy that this isn't like his last movie. But he doesn't have a huge part. He just has a couple talking points. He has one really long point of dialogue someplace in the movie. And he delivers his dialogue well. He does good. He's a good actor. Sam Elliott also is basically the same in every movie. I'm not sure I've ever seen a movie with Sam Elliott where he didn't wear a cowboy hat. And also, if you want to talk to me about Nicolas Cage being in two of my movies, Sam Elliott was also in two of my movies because he was also in Golden Compass. And I love Tombstone, so I don't hate Sam Elliott either. But this is just a bad movie. Even the graphics are dated. I feel like I could have done this on a program that I used in like graphic arts or something back when I was in high school. It doesn't seem like the graphics are all that good, but it is from 2007, so you've got to give it some leeway. But it's just a poorly written movie, poorly acted movie, or on the fence acting. And I would recommend not watching it unless you really want a laugh, because there are points that are really funny. So that's it. We've made it through my top 10. I think my next review is going to be a movie that I just watched for fun because I love it, and that's the Marx Brothers Animal Crackers. And then after that, I do have something that I'm working on. I'm not sure how realistic it is yet. So we will see once I get all the pieces together. But if the next project I'm working on does come together, it's probably going to take me about a year and a half to finish it. So if you want to roll with me for another year and a half, that's great. Or you can just check in whenever you want. Anyway, thank you. I hope you have a great day.